Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. It is the Conservative Coin Collector. America has been around for 249 years. And throughout that 249 years, we have had 47 presidents. Technically 40, I want to say it's technically been 45 because two presidents have had two non-consecutive terms. But we've had a lot of presidents and a lot of men lead this great country. The reason I talk about the presidents is because they are on our money. Whether it's George Washington on this quarter, JFK on the half dollar, or the current president on this novelty coin. They haven't always been on our currency, but they are now. Today's video is gonna be coin, it's still relevant to coins, but it's coin adjacent. I'm gonna do facts on all of the presidents America has ever had, starting with George Washington, working my way up through. And I actually did a video of this very similarly many years back. I looked at the video, it was 6 years ago. I didn't even have my own computer 6 years ago. It was on a shared computer and I was brand new to my editing software, so basically what I did was I video screen recorded the tab and I have to be clicking the tabs to the picture that I want, which is amateur stuff now that I'm looking back on it, but I'm glad it's still up there to remind me of the humble beginnings I came from. This video is already going to be pretty long, so what I want you to do is like, comment, subscribe, and share, and hit the bell icon. And well, on to the first president this nation ever had, George Washington. George Washington, our very first president. We know that George Washington was born in Virginia, February 22nd, 1732. We also know that he fought in the Revolutionary War, and there's a tall tale involving him cutting down a cherry tree. But a lot of people don't know that Washington loved parties, was an excellent dancer. Many see Washington as a stoic and unapproachable figure, but in reality he was a man who loved entertainment in the company of others. There are many accounts of his dancing late into the night at various balls, cotillions, and parties. He also loved theater and attended all sorts of plays throughout his life. During a time where stiff 18th century formalities pervaded relations between the sexes, Washington was known as an interested and engaged communicator with women. John Adams was our second president, and he was born in Massachusetts on October 30th, 1735. Adams wrote thousands of love letters to his wife during their marriage, some of which are still displayed in museums today. Adams was also the oldest living president for quite some time. He died July 4th, 1826 at the age of 90. The longest living president until Ronald Reagan 178 years later. Thomas Jefferson, our third president. He was the president that wrote up our Declaration of Independence. And it should be no surprise that he was obsessed with books. During his lifetime, Jefferson amassed what was likely the largest personal collection of books in the United States. When the British burned the Capitol building, including the Library of Congress in 1812, Jefferson sold his personal library to Congress, containing almost 6,500 volumes. It's a fraction of its original value as a replacement. James Madison, our fourth president. He was our smallest president at 5'4". He was also president during the War of 1812. And when the British troops set fire to the White House, he grabbed up the portrait of George Washington, some important documents, and just got the heck out of there. And another interesting fact about James Madison is he once lost an election because he didn't give alcohol to voters. Following a stint in the Virginia Convention in 1776, a young James Madison lost the 1777 bid for election to the state's House of Delegates. He would later write that the defeat was the result of his refusal to provide free liquor to the voters on Election Day, a common custom then known as swilling the planters with bumbo. James Monroe. Monroe's first presidential term was coined the Era of Good Feelings. During this period of national unity following the War of 1812, the Federalist Party collapsed and the country witnessed a transitory one-party government. In 1820, Monroe saw no opposing candidates, and he was re-elected with all but one of the electoral votes. This was the last time in the United States I saw a candidate run without serious opposition. Monroe was the only president besides Washington to do so. John Quincy Adams, President number 6, son to John Adams. And Adams, after serving as president, he served in the U.S. House of Representatives, the only ex-president to do so. In 1830, Adams was elected to the House as a part of the Massachusetts delegation. He would represent 3 districts over the course of his congressional career. Deeply interested in science, Adams ensured the founding of the Smithsonian Institution and became the father of space exploration in America, spurring construction of a network of astronomical observatories across the nation, so-called Lighthouse of the Sky, to study the heavens. He was also the first House member to champion abolition of emancipation. Adams, he wanted to serve until the day he died. And that's pretty much what happened. At age 78, Adams suffered a stroke while on the White House floor. He mostly recovered, but he was left partially paralyzed and returned to service within a few months. 2 years after the stroke, on February 21st, 1848, Adams collapsed during a debate about the Mexican-American War. He died 2 days later. Andrew Jackson has perhaps one of the most hilarious facts you will see today. Andrew Jackson used to have duels on the White House lawn. Yes, duels. If he disagreed with you on something, he would have a duel. Somebody who once disrespected his wife, he was like, White House lawn, now! If modern-day politicians dueled on the White House lawn, I'd pay good money to see that. Jackson also had a parrot. And apparently, during Jackson's funeral, this parrot would not stop swearing. So, they had to remove him from the funeral. Martin Van Buren. Old Kinderhook. His wife never served as the First Lady. His daughter-in-law served as First Lady duties. Van Buren's wife, Hannah Van Buren, died in 1819, and he never remarried. However, his son, Abraham Van Buren, got married in 1838 to a cousin of Dolly Madison. After their honeymoon, her name was Angelica, she performed the First Lady duties for her father-in-law. William Henry Harrison. Unfortunately, there really is no presidential facts about William Henry Harrison because he was only in office for 1 month before he died. and there is a reason that he died in office. William Henry Harrison's inaugural speech was very long. His inaugural speech was 8,445 words, and he delivered it on March 4th, 1841. Here's what you need to know about Washington, D.C. on March 4th. It is very cold and very rainy, just like it was on March 4th, 1841. And unfortunately, Harrison caught pneumonia after giving his speech, and he died about a month after it because he could just not kick his pneumonia. And being 1841, it was pre the Industrial Revolution, and there really was no cure for it. John Tyler, America's 10th president. America's 10th president, up until recently, had a living grandson. The grandson's name was Harrison Ruffin Tyler. He passed away May 26, 2025, at the age of 96. That's right, John Tyler, who was born in 1790, had a living grandson up until a few months ago, which is kinda crazy. James K. Polk, the 11th U.S. President. He is known, or was rather, for fulfilling his campaign promise and expanding U.S. territory. He served only one term as he pledged, and upon leaving office, he was the youngest president to date. He played a key role in the annexation of Texas and the resolution of the Oregon Territory dispute, which significantly expanded the United States. Zachary Taylor. Zachary Taylor, our 12th U.S. President, was a career military officer nicknamed Old Rough and Ready for his informal, courageous style. He became a national hero during the Mexican-American War before being elected president. Taylor was also the last president born before the U.S. Constitution was ratified. Millard Filmore, the 15th U.S. president, has a special place in my heart because he was born close to where I live. He is known for his role in the Compromise of 1850, which aimed to resolve the issue of slavery in newly acquired territories. He also established the first White House library in support of the expansion of the economy and diplomatic ties. Additionally, he became the first president to have a bathtub and running water installed in the White House. Franklin Pierce, our 14th U.S. president, was known for his good looks, nicknamed Handsome Frank. He was also a lifelong alcoholic, and his presidency is largely considered a failure due to his role in escalating tensions around slavery. He was also the first and only president to affirm his oath instead of swearing it on a Bible. He affirmed it on a law book instead. And shockingly, Pierce's heavy drinking led to cirrhosis of the liver, which is what ended his life on October 8, 1869. James Buchanan, president number 15. He was the only president to never marry. He was single in the White House, and he would even consider the White House his bachelor pad. James Buchanan. Abraham Lincoln. Perhaps he's the most well-known president outside of George Washington. He was a man of 6'4". He was the tallest president that we have ever had. Lincoln was also one of the first presidents to be born outside the original 13 colonies. The first, actually. He was born in Kentucky. Outside of being the 16th president, Lincoln also holds a unique distinction of being the only president to hold a patent for a device that helps boats float. Furthermore, despite his iconic status, he lost several elections before becoming president. And there's a reason that he has the beard that he has in a lot of his photos. He got a letter from a little girl saying that he had essentially had a weak chin and that a beard would help his face. And one thing that Lincoln is known for is helping free the slaves, putting a giant target on his back throughout his presidency, eventually leading to be the very first president who was assassinated. Unfortunately, Lincoln was assassinated, and Lincoln's vice president, Andrew Johnson, is the 17th president who took over after that event. Andrew Johnson was a very skilled tailor, and every suit that you see him in, he made himself. He famously never attended school and taught himself to read and write at the age of 17 with the help of his wife, Eliza. He is also the first president to be impeached. Why he was impeached was for primarily violating the Tenure of Office Act, attempting to remove the Secretary of War, Edwin Stanton, from his position without Senate approval. The House of Representatives also accused him of other high crimes and misdemeanors, including delivering inflammatory speeches against Congress. President Ulysses Grant, President 18. He was known for his Civil War leadership and presidency, and he had several interesting parts about his life. He was excellent in horsemanship and acquired the nickname Unconditional Surrender. He did so for his demand of immediate surrender at Fort Donelson after leaving the White House. He faced financial ruin due to a scam, but famously wrote memoirs which became a bestseller to provide for his family. Another thing that Grant did was he smoked cigars. A lot of cigars. He smoked up to 20 cigars a day, primarily during the Civil War, and some accounts suggested he reduced his consumption to around 10. But Grant's cigar smoking caught up with him because his cause of death was throat cancer. Rutherford Hayes takes the spot as president number 19, and the cool fact about his childhood, he was a spelling bee champion. He won a whole bunch of spelling bees throughout all of his childhood. And skipping ahead to when he was president, he decided he would not run for a second term as president. He retired from politics in 1881 and instead focused on causes that were of great importance to him. He fought for temperance, provided scholarships for African Americans, and even became one of Ohio State University's trustees. James A. Garfield. There really isn't much about his presidency or facts about his presidency because he was only in office for, 6 months before an assassin decided he was going to put a bullet in his head. And he did not die right away, but being the time period, there was no medical stuff like we have today. And actually, Alexander Graham Bell tried to help cure him because he invented what was essentially considered a metal detector. And they tried using the metal detector to find the bullet in his head. But, of course, the metal springs would interfere with the metal detector. And what these surgeons and doctors would do, they would take their unsterilized, ungloved hands and poke and prod around the inside of Garfield's head. Shockingly, he died of an infection on September 19th, 1881. Chester Arthur. One interesting fact about Arthur is he was quite a fashionista. He owned over 80 pairs of pants. Also, during his presidency, he was hiding a secret illness. He had something called Bright's disease, something to do with your kidneys, and that's what eventually led to Chester Arthur's passing at the age of 57, and that was November 18th, 1886. Grover Cleveland. He takes the spot as president number 22 and number 24. He is the first president to serve 2 non-consecutive terms. He is a distant relative of the guy that they named the city of Cleveland after. But Grover didn't grow up in Ohio. He was born in New Jersey and later moved to New York State. His first career was a teacher. Cleveland was a teacher at the New York Institute for the Blind in Manhattan before deciding to pursue a legal career. He ran for office in New York State and my hometown Buffalo as a reformer. He gained quite a reputation as a fresh-faced politician who fought corruption and patronage. In 1882, he became Buffalo's mayor, and in 1883, New York's governor. Cleveland was also a big guy. He was 275 pounds, the second heaviest after William Howard Taft, which I'm going to cover later as another president. And Fitness Magazine named him the least healthiest president because of his penchant for drinking beer and cigar smoking. Benjamin Harrison was the 23rd president, and he is not the first Harrison to be president. His grandfather, William Henry Harrison, was the 9th president of the United States, and his great-grandfather signed the Declaration of Independence. During his presidency, Harrison played a key role in establishing the National Forest Reserves, and his administration significantly strengthened the modernized U.S. Navy. After Benjamin Harrison, Grover Cleveland had his second term, and after Cleveland's second term was William McKinley. McKinley served as the 25th President of the United States, serving from 1897 until his untimely death when he was assassinated in 1901. Assassinated in my hometown, Buffalo, New York, unfortunately. McKinley is known for leading the country during the Spanish-American War, acquiring new territories like Philippines, Puerto Rico, and Guam. And, of course, for his assassination. He was a Civil War veteran, rising to the rank of brevet major. A prominent Republican, he also served as governor of Ohio, the House of Representatives, where he championed protectionist tariffs. And our current president is currently looking up to William McKinley because he also likes tariffs. Theodore Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt. Aside from being portrayed by Robin Williams at a museum, he's known for quite a few things. He was a cowboy, he was an outdoorsman, and he actually survived an assassination attempt. He was speaking in public, and he had his notes in his shirt pocket. Somebody came up to him, fired a bullet towards him, and the bullet was stopped by his notes. His speech saved his life. So what had happened was Roosevelt beat the snot out of the guy and continued speaking like a total badass. William Howard Taft. He was president 27. He is known for being the only person to have served both as U.S. President and Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. He was also a very large man. His weight would fluctuate between 330 and 345. He required a special oversized bathtub of the White House that could easily fit 4 men. There was actually a rumor that he got stuck in the White House bathtub, but I looked it up and that wasn't true. He had a love for automobiles, and he converted the White House stables into a garage. And he also had a pet cow who would graze on the White House lawn. Woodrow Wilson was the next president. His full name was actually Thomas Woodrow Wilson. He is the 28th president and is known for being the only president with a PhD. He is also has a major role in founding the League of Nations and leading the country during the First World War. He is also the last president to travel to his inauguration with a horse-drawn carriage. Warren G. Harding, President 29. He is known for his charm and popularity, but also scandals within his administration. He was a former newspaper publisher who conducted a front porch campaign appealing to voters by staying close to home. He also signed the Emergency Quota Act, which restricted immigration. His presidency, however, was marred by corruption, including the infamous Teapot Dome scandal. Harding never served out a full 4 years. He was elected in 1921, but his presidency ended in 1923. Harding, he was traveling, and he was in one hotel room where he fell asleep and then died of a heart attack in his sleep. That's his cause of death, heart attack in his sleep, before his presidency was ever ended. So then Calvin Coolidge had to take over, and he is President 30. Calvin Coolidge, President 30. We've had 3 presidents die on Independence Day. Calvin Coolidge was born on Independence Day. He was born on the 4th of July, making him the only U.S. president to be born on Independence Day. The year he was born was 1872. He was also known for his quiet demeanor, earning him the nickname Silent Cal. He and a reporter, they were at a dinner, and they had this competition to see who could say the least amount of words. Coolidge won, and the only 2 words he spoke were, "You lose." His wife, Grace Coolidge, was nicknamed the First Lady of Baseball for her love and the support of the Washington Senators and the Boston Red Sox. And another interesting fact, Coolidge always had a jar of Vaseline with him, and he would always have somebody rub it on his scalp. Herbert Hoover, President 31. He had a very interesting childhood. He got a nickname from his dad. His dad used to call him "my little stick in the mud," because once as a child he got stuck in the mud. His mother was involved in the church and heavily influenced the family's public prayer life. Despite attending school, young Hoover didn't do much independent reading beyond the Bible. Hoover and his wife, Lou Hoover, spoke Chinese. In fact, his wife Lou spoke over 8 languages, and the Hoovers reportedly spoke Chinese in the White House when they wanted to have a private conversation. And Herbert Hoover was the first president since John Adams to make it to 90 years old. He died in 1964, age 90. FDR, president number 32. He is the longest serving president we've ever had, instead of the normal 2, he was able to get away with serving 4, primarily because of the Second World War. He was in a wheelchair, and he actually did help lead us through the Second World War, but unfortunately he also locked 100,000 Japanese Americans in internment camps. One good thing I should say about FDR is he was all for the polio vaccine. Because FDR, when he was 30, acquired the disease, and polio is what made him be in that wheelchair the rest of his life. He also saw the creation of many New Deal programs that aimed at economic recovery. FDR was serving his 4th term, and in 1945 he died while in office. Harry S. Truman was his vice president, then he became president after FDR's passing. He was the 33rd U.S. president and had a fascinating life. He was a World War I veteran, a haberdasher, and a county judge before becoming president. Notably, his middle initial S didn't represent a middle name, but rather served as a tribute to his grandfathers. He also led the country through the end of the Second World War and the beginning of the Cold War, making pivotal decisions like the use of the atom bomb and the establishment of the Truman Doctrine. Dwight Eisenhower, President number 34. He, before becoming president, was a World War II general. Interesting fact that before quitting cold turkey, Eisenhower would smoke as much as 6 packs of cigarettes per day. He was a very heavy smoker until, again, he quit cold turkey. And his nickname, Ike. And the campaign slogan he would use was, "I like Ike." He was known for having a passion for golf, even painting his golf balls black to see them better on the snow. He also enjoyed oil painting, created around 260 works later in life. A fun fact about his family is that he and his wife had 2 sons, but their first son died of scarlet fever at the age of 3. He was also fond of Western novels and the movie Angels in the Outfield. JFK, or John Fitzgerald Kennedy, was 35th president. At the time of him coming to office, he was the youngest president to ever become president, and he was also the very first Catholic president to serve. He was also known for his charisma, youthful energy, and ambitious vision. Kennedy was also a decorated World War II veteran. He was awarded the Purple Heart for his service, and he also was a Pulitzer Prize winner for his book Profiles in Courage. LBJ, Lyndon B. Johnson. He was born in 1908 near Stonewall, Texas. He was named after a local lawyer. Some of the key initiatives in his presidency after he took over, unfortunately JFK was taken out by Lee Harvey Oswald, was he had a lot of Great Society programs that aimed at reducing poverty and racial injustice. LBJ had what's known as an amphibious vehicle. An amphibious vehicle can both drive on land and float on the water. He was a bit of a prankster when it came to his amphibious vehicle, because he would take a friend out in his car like nothing was going to happen, and of course the friend didn't know it was an amphibious vehicle. So what he would do is pretend the brakes failed, and he would accidentally drive his car into the water, freaking out the passenger and giving himself a good laugh in the process. Richard Nixon. He served as the nation's 37th president. He is the first and so far only president that resigned from office. Unfortunately, his presidency is plagued with the Watergate scandal, and outside of the whole Watergate scandal, he was actually a pretty decent president if you take a look at his policies and what he did. Nixon had a bowling alley installed under the White House. He was an avid bowler and was pleased to see the love of bowling that inspired Harry Truman to build lanes at the White House in 1947 was still going strong when he took office in 1969. The alley was moved in 1955, and Nixon actually ordered that the new lane be built underground under the North Portico entrance. He favored the new location because it was more private than the lanes that were open to other staffers. Nixon reportedly bowled a respectable 232. Gerald Ford was president number 38. And pre-going into politics, Gerald Ford was a football player. He was a pretty good football player, in fact. And Ford was actually thinking about going pro, but unfortunately he had suffered an injury that prevented him from going pro. Jimmy Carter, the 39th president. He had a record-breaking longevity post-presidency. And most of what he's known for is his post-presidency of something like 43 years. He is known for his human rights and global health. In his upper 90s, he was building houses for Habitat for Humanity. And he also established the Carter Center while doing so. He was also a peanut farmer before entering politics, and served as a state senator and the governor of Georgia. A few other notable facts include his role in negotiating the Camp David Accords. His post-presidency and peace efforts are pretty much what he is known for outside of being president. And a really cool fun fact about Jimmy Carter is he is the first and the only president so far to make it to the ripe old age of 100 years old. Ronald Reagan. Another milestone president, being president number 40. He had a diverse career before entering politics. He was a successful actor hosting General Electric Theater in the 1950s, and twice serving as president of the Screen Actors Guild. He also worked as a motivational speaker for General Electric. His political career took off after a speech during the 1964 presidential election. He served as governor of California before becoming president. During his presidency, he implemented Reaganomics, a policy focused on deregulation and tax cuts, and significantly increased military spending. He also authorized the invasion of Grenada, the first major overseas military action in years. He also liked to doodle on his pages as well. If you take a look at his notes, he doodled on them all the time. George H.W. Bush. He was the 41st U.S. President. He is a decorated World War II veteran, having served as a Navy pilot. Bush flew Avenger torpedo bombers and was shot down over the Pacific Ocean. He was rescued by a submarine. He was also a successful businessman in the oil industry before entering politics. The oil company he founded was called Zapata Corporation. And entering politics pre-becoming president, he served as a congressman ambassador to the United Nations and the director of the CIA, and then he was a vice president before becoming the big man himself, the president. Some humorous moments. There is a video of him throwing up on camera. He must have gotten food poisoning or something must have not sit right, but there's video footage of him throwing up. And he was actually a pretty good sport about the footage being leaked and made a couple jokes, and it was actually pretty funny. He was also known for his playful personality and occasional humorous gaffes, which endeared him to many Americans. He is remembered for his foreign policy achievements, including the end of the Cold War and the Persian Gulf War. Bush died on November 30th, 2018, aged 94 years old. Every president I have covered so far has died. Moving on to the first president who is currently still living, Bill Clinton. He was president from 1993 until 2001, so technically I was born under the Clinton administration. He was known for his youthful energy and primary focus on the economy. He was 46 when elected, making him the third youngest president. Clinton's presidency was marked both by economic prosperity and scandal, including impeachment proceedings related to the Monica Lewinsky affair. Clinton also knows how to play the saxophone. In fact, he was on live TV back in the 90s playing said instrument. George W. Bush, or Bush 43 as he was known. His father was George H.W. Bush, or Bush 41. He is Bush 43. And he had a diverse career before becoming president, including serving in the Texas Air National Guard before working in the oil industry, and co-owning the Texas Rangers baseball team. He also achieved several notable accomplishments as governor of Texas, including education reform and promoting wind-generated electricity. It's funny, in high school, Bush was a cheerleader, which has to be one of the coolest and funniest facts I know about a president. Barack Obama. He is the 44th U.S. president and is from Hawaii, making him the only president born outside the lower 48. He was also the first black president, too. One fun fact is that he was involved in a tan suit controversy during his presidency. This tan suit controversy was pretty humorous. It was and remains the greatest scandal in presidential history. The CIA official and presidential briefer David Press wrote humorously, Obama was never in a tan suit. One day he was in a tan suit, and because social media does what it does, it went viral. Donald Trump was the president after Barack Obama. His first term was from 2017 until 2021. A cool fact about Donald Trump is he has never smoked a cigarette and he has never picked up a drink of alcohol. His brother, Fred Trump Jr., got into alcohol and drugs, and unfortunately, alcoholism destroyed his life, and Don didn't want that to happen to him. Before becoming president, Donald Trump was a very notable name throughout America. He was already a well-known celebrity. He was known for building a huge empire in New York City by building all these tall buildings. He invested in a lot of stuff, beauty pageants, and he owned hotels, and Trump is even big into UFC. He knows Vince McMahon, and even during his presidency, he's been known to go to these WWE events. Trump has also published several books like The Art of the Deal and Think Like a Billionaire. And on top of all that, he's been in several TV commercials, and he's cameoed in several movies and TV shows. And before entering into politics, the last thing that Donald Trump did was The Apprentice. He was on there for quite a few seasons before entering the political sphere and going down the golden escalator in 2015, saying that he's going to run for president. Joe Biden. I have a lot to say on him and his presidency, but I don't have all night, and I want to keep the video PG. A sad fact about Joe Biden is that he was married to a previous woman other than Jill. His first marriage was to a woman named Nelia Hunter Biden. And she is the mother of Hunter and Hunter's younger sister, Naomi. December 18th, 1972, both her and Hunter's younger sister, Naomi, were killed in an automobile accident. A more fun fact about Biden is he loves comfort food. His favorites include PB&Js, pizza, and BLTs, and he has a soft spot for cookies and spaghetti with butter. And one of his favorite go-to treats, if you've watched him be interviewed by softball interviewers, is chocolate chip ice cream. Trump, he is the second president to serve 2 non-consecutive terms, and Grover Cleveland was the first. But seeing that Grover Cleveland died in 1908, there are many generations that have not lived under his presidency. So a whole new generation, many new generations, have seen history in the making with Trump serving 2 non-consecutive terms. Trump's back in office, and so far he's actually done what he was going to do. Going into office, the border was wide open. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of migrants were crossing our border each day. And now that Trump put a closed sign on our border and hired Tom Homan to make sure it stays closed, border crossings have been zero. And deporting all these illegal migrants, illegal aliens that shouldn't be here to begin with, is a whole separate can of worms, but a lot have been deported back to where they belong. Another good thing about the second term is the Make America Healthy Again movement. Bobby Kennedy, or RFK Jr., is leading the Make America Healthy Again movement. So far, he has banned all of those toxic dyes like Red 40, Yellow 3, Blue 2, and these companies are going to have to find alternatives to these nasty, nasty dyes. There was a president I covered earlier, William McKinley, and William McKinley loved tariffs. Trump loves tariffs, and he actually has looked up to William McKinley on the whole tariff situation. He wants to essentially get big all of our money back that has been wasted through tariffs. And one thing that Trump is now known for is peace through strength. That's his motto now, peace through strength. And so far, everything seems to be doing pretty good. I'm a fan of him, you may not be, but so far he's delivered on all of his promises, and that's more than you can say for any other president we have ever had. I'm the Conservative Coin Collector. I hope you liked the video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit the bell icon. Until next time, I'm signing off. So long, everybody.